77 WABC invites you to a family fun day and softball showdown on July 20th with net proceeds benefiting Shriners Children's. John Sterling will call the game as the FDNY takes on the NYPD with special guests Dwight Gooden, Art Shamsky, 77 WABC hosts, including Sid Rosenberg, Anthony Cumia, Lionel, Dominic Carter, and many more. For more info and to buy tickets, go to ShrinersChildren'sChampions.org. That's ShrinersChildren'sChampions.org.
The More Money Show with Steve Moore.
Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back, folks. This is the More Money Show. Having a lot of fun on a beautiful, beautiful Saturday afternoon in the first week of July. I hope you all had a wonderful, wonderful, patriotic 4th of July yesterday. It could not have been more gorgeous on the East Coast. And I was privileged this past week, as most of you know, I missed the show last weekend because I was on a cruise with my buddy Steve Forbes, who is Forbes had sponsored a cruise. We had about 80 to 100 folks on that cruise with us. We went throughout the Mediterranean. We went to Spain and Italy and Malta, and I love Capri. We ended there, and then ended in Rome. And Steve Forbes, thanks for inviting me on that. I had a great time, and so did my wife, Ann. But now we got to get back to business because we have this new tax bill in place. I think this is, Steve, a quite an incredible achievement, and I think you deserve a great deal of credit because you put a lot of these issues, whether it was school choice or whether it was the flat tax or whether it was the importance of cutting marginal tax rates. You were the one who really put these agenda items. You and Ronald Reagan started this movement a long time ago. So, Steve, thanks for joining. What do you think of the big, beautiful bill?
Well, first of all, it's fun having you and Ann with us on the investor cruise.
That was great.
The cruisers, as we call them, got a lot of good investment advice, hoping to make more than enough money to come back on a future cruise. But the bill was a monumental achievement. It covered a lot of ground, and while we can find flaws in it, it did some very good things. First of all, the key thing, Steve, was certainty, making sure we got having the deductions up front for investment, including factories. Instant expensing is critical. Yep. And other provisions. We can lament that they raised the blue state salt.
I don't like that.
To 40,000. They should have followed our advice and just reduced the tax rates, which would have done the same thing, and added incentives, and putting in the 15% corporate tax that the president wanted. But overall, it was a pretty good thing, and they got rid of a lot of junk, too. For example, Venmo and PayPal don't have to report every transaction above $600. Yeah. Huge invasion of privacy.
Yes.
We remove price controls on orphan drugs and the like. So I'm sure we'll find some bad stuff that was snuck in, but overall, getting this thing done, and getting it done by the 4th of July 3rd, actually, the signing was yesterday, the 4th, was a remarkable achievement. A lot more has to be done, and now we have to focus on continued deregulation. This bill codifies some very good stuff. But a lot of work to be done, but this is a heck of a nice platform to do the remaining work.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think you did a good summary. Now, let's go through some of these individual items, Steve. I'm talking to the great Steve Forbes about the big and beautiful bill. You just mentioned the orphan drug issue. So explain that one to me and to my listeners. What is the issue there?
Well, there are a lot of diseases that don't have many patients and therefore don't get the kind of investment that you'd normally get. Years ago, the Congress did do something right by putting in provisions to help finance research in these so-called orphan drugs, saving thousands of lives of people.
Right.
But unfortunately, the Biden administration put in price controls, and this gets the whole thing of pharmaceutical price controls, which would kill the innovations that must be coming. Very exciting stuff coming along about replacing lungs and the like, getting shots for cancer. and major stuff coming along. You put in price controls, however convoluted.
Terrible.
You kill that stuff off. We saw that in Europe. Europe was once a font of new pharmaceuticals, new medical devices. But as the government dominated the healthcare industry there, guess what? Reduced to a trickle. So this was one good small step in the right direction, and I hope we build on that with the rest of Medicaid and Medicare, not kill innovation. One of the things I hope the president does, he's made references to it in the future on trade, is that countries should pay more of their share for the $2.6 billion that it takes to bring a new drug to market.
Yes.
What in effect they do is we pay the $2.6 billion for a new medicine, and the other countries buy it at almost cost with all the sophistication and subtlety of Tony Soprano. What they say is if you don't give it to it, they don't say it directly, but the implication is you don't give it to us at a good price, we'll steal the patent. And so as a result, we have to make that a big issue. And the amazing thing, even though these people don't pay the proper price, the drug availability, because of their tight budgets and because of socialism, the access to these medicines is not as widespread in other countries as it is in the United States.
Yeah, no, it's a big problem. And incidentally, when you talk about things that are delaying the introduction of drugs, let's not forget the FDA, which is one of the I think more sinister regulatory agencies. I'm an investor in a drug that is one of those kind of orphan drugs. So it's a disease that is a neurological disease, terrible disease, but it only affects about 40,000 people a year. Now, that's a lot of people, but it's not a lot to make money. And we've had this thing, we think the evidence looks very strong that it works. And my feeling is, Steve, these people are going to die if they don't have access to something. Why not let people use this drug if they want to, but the FDA won't let it. And, Milton Friedman, you knew Milton Friedman. He used to say the FDA kills people because every time they say, oh, we have a new drug that we just approved, saves 50,000 lives. Well, what about the 50,000 people who died last year because you didn't allow the drug on the market?
77 WABC invites you to a family fun day and softball showdown on July 20th with net proceeds benefiting Shriners Children's. John Sterling will call the game as the FDNY takes on the NYPD with special guests Dwight Gooden, Art Shamsky, 77 WABC hosts including Sid Rosenberg, Anthony Cumia, Lionel, Dominic Carter, and many more. For more info and to buy tickets, go to ShrinersChildren'sChampions.org. That's ShrinersChildren'sChampions.org.
Greg Kelly here for Colonial Metals Group. China's leading the largest anti-American alliance since World War II, one that's already dumped U.S. bonds, grabbed 43 million acres of our farmland, and is plotting to dethrone the dollar. That's why IRA and 401k savers are protecting their savings with gold. Go to freegoldguide.com/Kelly or call 800-655-5186 for your free gold guide on how to protect your wealth with gold 100% tax-free.
This episode is brought to you by Polestar. There's only one true way to experience the all-electric luxury SUV Polestar 3, and that's to take a test drive. It can go from 0 to 60 in as little as 4.8 seconds with the dynamic handling of a sports car. But to truly understand how it commands the road, you need to be behind the wheel. Up to 350 miles of range, the 3D surround sound system by Bowers & Wilkins. It's all something you have to experience to believe. So book your test drive for Polestar 3 today at Polestar.com.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold! Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Absolutely. And one other thing on that is that Medicare and Medicaid should approve, talking about the FDA, when the FDA approves of a drug, that should immediately be permitted for reimbursement under Medicare and Medicaid. A lot of these drugs being delayed that way. And so, again, a lot of people are hurt unnecessarily, some mortally. So, yes, there's work to be done in this area.
And by the way, drugs are a lot cheaper way to provide treatment for people than surgery or other, other ways of dealing with diseases that are much more expensive. So that's a great point. Well, another issue you and I worked on that I think we've resolved, not totally, but to a great extent, is the spectrum auction. That is in the bill, Steve Forbes. So the United States military owns a lot of the electronic spectrum. We need that for all sorts of telecommunications innovations. And they've scored this, I think, as $86 billion of revenues to the government by allowing private companies, whether it's Verizon or AT&T or some of these others, to use that spectrum to advance, everything from cell phones to artificial intelligence.
That's right. And typical of government bureaucracies, we love our military, but the Pentagon bureaucracy does not want to let go of this unused spectrum, and even though they don't need it. But that's typical of bureaucracy, and this bill addresses that. It's a huge source of revenue, and I think it's going to be above, if they do it right, above the $86 billion they're forecasting. And another thing, though, is disappointed, talking about disappointments in the bill, is they didn't include a provision to reduce the capital gains tax.
Yes.
As you know, every time they reduce that tax, the government gets more revenue instantly. So They passed by this thing that would have added tens of billions of dollars of revenue in the next 10 years.
Well, we would also have liked to have seen the 15% corporate rate, which is something Trump talked a lot about, but that was not included in the bill, unfortunately. But one other victory, and I just wanted to ask you this last question, Steve, and I know it's a Saturday afternoon, and you should be relaxing after the last week, but there's some money for school choice. We're taking the money away from the school establishments and the blob, and we're giving a lot of that money to the parents so they can choose good schools for their kids. That's something, when you ran for president, you were one of the first presidential candidates who talked about school choice for all kids.
Well, that's right. And the key thing is, as you just hit on, taking it out of the hands of the bureaucracy, right, and letting parents make the choice. And we need that in education. We need that in health care more than what we have now. This bill takes some steps in the right direction on that, but there's a lot more to be done to totally empower patients. And so you get a free market in health care. You get a free market in education. And you'll turn what looks like two big drags on the economy into, in terms of cost, into real innovative, where we get more for less. Parents will insist on educations, and patients will get more in the ways of cures and drugs for less cost. Win-win all around.
Well, Steve, you had a lot to do with this. So did, obviously, Donald Trump. So did Speaker Johnson. It was a great victory.
So did you. Don't downplay your role. You're hammering this for years.
Thank you for coming on, Steve. And we will be right back, folks. This is the More Money Show on WABC.
The More Money Show with Steve Moore on the Red Apple Podcast Network. 77 WABC invites you to a family fun day and softball showdown on July 20th with net proceeds benefiting Shriners Children's. John Sterling will call the game as the FDNY takes on the NYPD with special guests Dwight Gooden, Art Shamsky, 77 WABC hosts including Sid Rosenberg, Anthony Cumia, Lionel, Dominic Carter, and many more. For more info and to buy tickets, go to ShrinersChildren'sChampions.org. That's ShrinersChildren'sChampions.org.